everybody. Welcome to the Energy Newsbeat Daily Stand-Up. This is the weekly recap. It has been an absolutely crazy week this week. We have had Donald Trump really throwing a lot of names around. We've had everything from Matt Gaetz signing up if he can getting approved for head of the DOJ. We've had all these other ones just coming out of the woodwork. We've had actually get really solidified. Elon and Vivek Ramaswamy, hats off to you guys, and gonna make America lean again. I like it. So lots of great stuff going on. I'm going to turn this over to the staff and have an absolutely wonderful weekend. Hug your pets. Pass this along. And if you are getting ready for your taxes right now, reach out. We have partnered with Pecos Operating, and they are fantastic folks. I've got money in it, and I like having a tax benefit for an investment as well as mailbox money in production checks. Love me some production checks on oil and gas. Have a great day. Governor Newsom calls emergency session to Trump-proof California and defend climate policies and more. Michael, this is about as dumb as it gets. Let me set the stage for this article. California gets about $228 billion in annual federal funding for different programs. That doesn't include all the money incoming from the military that's camped out there. That's a lot of other things. For a bankrupt state, you don't want to piss off losing that funding, and that's what he's doing. Let's go through the stats on this. Governor Newsom said Trump, based on his actions during his first term in office, is a threat to California's climate change program and illegal immigrant population, women's rights, and LGBTQ plus 3 over the square root of 3, 4, whatever the hell that is, rights. California is ready to fight, Newsom said. I just called an emergency session, which will be in the beginning of December. It'll be our fundamental civil rights, reproductive freedom. This is bullcrap.
Well, I mean, the thing about Newsom is he's also a lame duck. So I think personally what he's trying to do with a lot of this stuff is keep his name in the news as long as he can, because when he leaves office in 2026, now there's a gap because he's term limited to when if he were to try to run in 2028. So I think a lot of this stuff is a bunch of hand waving. The real question is how much can he do? I mean, the side of it where, and hear me out on this one, I'm a states' rights over federal rights. I believe that the more local you get, the better you can govern your community. So I think the real question here is, what are states allowed to do outside the purview of the federal government? Obviously, the federal government law trumps everything, which is good, but
you're on the right track, Michael. But here's where it gets a little weird. Governor Newsom has influenced the other 17 states that have passed laws that if it's passed laws in California, they can follow it as well too. So this complicates it in a energy perspective on California car mandates. Let's just take the car mandates. It ruins the ability for people to get good gas mileage in California. They do more damage to the environment, and they have the highest prices possible.
I'm not arguing the fact that I think these policies are stupid. What I'm saying is, should states allowed to be passed stupid laws, assuming it's what its citizens want? That I think is the real underlying. And I'm telling you,
it is
here's
what
the
it
thing.
is.
It is my belief that the more local you get, your local city council knows better how to govern you than they do in the White House.
I agree.
They should, because they're there every day. So some of this stuff is like, if California wants to drive the car off the cliff, who are we to stop them?
Nope. I'm going to say goodbye. Have a great Thelma and Louise episode and have a great day.
Now, the counter argument to my argument is, well, the problem is someone's going to have to pick up the pieces from all this. Someone is going to have to come in when their energy costs go through the roof and step in and subsidize. And, it's probably going to be you, the taxpayer.
We
in
have seen
California,
that
but also from the
time.
federal government side. So that I think is the counter to my counter argument.
Well, here's where it starts coming into play. And we're seeing that voter fraud is still going on in Arizona. And don't hit your head against the thing because
We won, Stu. Just let's put it to
no,
rest.
what I'm saying is that you have voter fraud going on in California and in Arizona and when you take a look at voter fraud, you are going to have to put up some serious security measures in there because how in the world did Pencil Neck Shift win? Huh?
Well, I mean, because California, because again, the people of California are brain dead. I mean, let's just
It's
be honest. They voted in these people.
German president hit a man on the head over Nord Stream. You can't make this kind of stuff up.
You
German
can't.
President Mark Walter Steinmeier allegedly assaulted writer Marco Martin over his criticisms of the Nord Stream gas pipelines, Bild has reported. Michael, this is hilarious. Dude, I see nothing. I could see Sergeant Salt sitting in the corner. Now, this is absolutely hilarious when we sit back and think about it. Martin reportedly argued that the German government's participation in Nord Stream might have emboldened the Russian President Vladimir Putin to launch his military campaign against Ukraine. I disagree with that 300%. The reason that Putin invaded Ukraine is because the NATO was encroaching and breaking all the rules that he told them not to do. That had nothing to do with it. The U.S. was alleged to have done the dirty deed, and Biden even telegraphed it. My statement today, Michael, if you go green and you go woke, you go broke, and your government gets thrown out. And that's exactly what's happened. Germany is deindustrialized and they are broke. The government has failed because they are the poster child of green energy. So my recommendation is the war is going to end next month. Sign the Ukraine deal and go ahead and start buying that gas. There is still one Nord Stream pipeline that is still available to use. They only got 3 of the 4 pipelines. So I'd say fire that bad dog up and start trying to get some low cost energy so you could get your cotton picking government going and re energize the German market.
Yeah, I mean, it goes to show you when you start hitting people over the head how sensitive you are with this topic. I mean, if it really was, Russian, people wouldn't care if you yell out, "Oh, it was you. Oh, it was this." Like the fact that they're so sensitive about this topic tells me everything you think so in because of this.
Analysts explain why USA natural gas price is rising. Why is the U.S. natural gas price rising today? That's a good question. Rigzone asked several key analysts on the. For me, it seems like a weather phenomenon, said Ole Havalbai, commoditist analyst at. Boy, I'm going to butcher this one. I'm just going to go ahead and Esden Balkan told Rigzone. The first recent updated weather forecast pointed to colder weather than expected temperatures across much of the U.S. At the same time, lower wind speeds were predicted. We've recently seen a similar effect in the EU dubbed Dunkelflaut, which is low wind and solar output, leading to reduced output from wind and power generation. Bottom line, wind and solar is intermittent. So I think this is pretty good. A combination of colder weather and Blutenfline or whatever, Dukenflot, is pretty funny. The EIA shows that according to the data from the S&P Global Commodities Insight, the average total supply of natural gas fell by 1.1% or 1.2 billion cubic feet per day compared with the previous report. Dry natural gas production decreased from 1.3% to an average of 101 BCF per day, and an average of net imports from Canada increased by 2.2%. Let's roll over. The Russian oil gets flipped between tankers near Spanish enclave of Ceuta. The oil appears to have been switched between ocean-going tankers near the enclave in North Africa. It's on the west side of the Gibraltar entrance footprints. On Saturday, the Suezmax-class tanker Sayaka left the waters of Ceuta, a once popular destination for Russian oil switching, with its depth in the water indicating an unloaded cargo. Before then, the ship vanished from digital tracking systems for about 60 hours. It's about what it takes to unload a tanker, so just depends on the offload or the onload capabilities. No Euro cargo transfer has been conducted near Ceuta since August of 2023 after Spain wrote to local firms about the practice, which could lead to breaches in a group of 7 price cap on Russian oil. Before its transponder was switched off, tracking systems showed that the Soryoka collected about 730,000 barrels of Russian oil from Prismark on the Baltic Sea in October and then sailed on through. I just love this because this is actually a freedom kind of thing from the standpoint that the Harris Biden administration weaponized the US dollar incorrectly and really overstep their bounds in so many ways. So I'm almost like the old truckers when you had the bears in the sky and you had a convoy and you had Smokey and the Bandit and you were always trying to listen to see if you could outplay or outfox and drive faster. I'm almost rooting for the tankers just to avoid sanctions because they were improperly done and overly weaponized. You can overly weaponize against the US dollar. Let's go to the next story here. GOP lawmakers, fishermen urge Trump to keep day one promise to axe offshore wind. I just saw a video of President Trump saying that he is going to, through executive order, we'll see if this is true, end offshore wind. Republican lawmakers opposed to heavy subsidized green energy and commercial fishermen who the industry as an existential threat to their livelihoods are calling on the president-elect to follow through on his campaign's promise. We are going to make sure that this offshore end day one, and I'm going to write it out in an executive order, Trump told a crowd of his supporters in a rally in Wildwood, New Jersey on May 11th. I couldn't be happier from a standpoint that we need to really evaluate, hey, if offshore wind could stand the fiscal sustainability and the environmental tests, I'm all in on wind. Let's just go ahead and say that right out now. But the Biden-Harris administration have hid reports, misaligned reports. The offshore wind actually pollutes more than they say it is. Where does the money go? It is not fiscally responsible from day one. Who pays for it? The consumers. And so we're seeing the deindustrialization. Have you heard of Germany, the UK? We've seen it in New Jersey, in New York, in California. Green policies equal deindustrialization and then higher energy costs. And President Trump has vowed to cut your energy costs in half. In order to do that, he's going to have to take a fiscally responsible stance to energy, and I applaud that. If wind is fiscally responsible, let's do it. If it's not, and we've been lied to, let's get rid of it. I could not be more thrilled by President-elect Donald Trump's victory, said Continental Resources founder Harold Hamm. I'll tell you what, this is really cool. I couldn't be more, said Harold Hamm. This is a monumental win for American energy and the future of our nation's energy security. Jeff Miller, CEO of Halliburton, echoed those sentiments. It could only be positive. In fact, I'm quite optimistic. So you can see why everybody's doing the Trump dance in the energy space, in the oil and gas space anyway. Taking on office next January, the industry expects Trump to slash many of the environmental rules imposed by Biden. Mike Summers, head of the API, cool cat, love Mike Summers, of the American Petroleum Institute, said had been on a regulatory onslaught during the past 4 years, and I couldn't agree more. Guess who got to pay that regulatory onslaught to the tune of about $1 trillion? U.S. consumers. One of the most important fundamental changes brought by the industry for Trump, it would be aided by Republican control of the Senate, and we're hearing the House as well too. Meanwhile, Trump has vowed to slash corporate tax and unpick Biden's signature climate legislation. Take number one out of this article. America needs to return to the days which industry was allowed to compete in open markets. I could not agree more, with limited interference from politicians and regulators. Our take number two, we've noticed the media associate good times in the oil field with high levels of production. That's not necessarily the case. An environment in which operating and regulatory costs and risks are play a much bigger role in ensuring long-term prosperity in the sector. I like this. Take number three in this article. Magnanimous, any oil gas companies that might lobby for the retention of portions of outgoing admin's immensely damaging and wasteful energy policy that happen to fill their corporate coffers, even as they continue to rip off taxpayers. What would America do without these patriots? Not sure I understand that one, but I do like Doug Sheridan. This came off of LinkedIn.